Reverence in the way that you most see fit at this time. Lord, we come to you in prayer tonight, and I just want to say thank you, first and foremost. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. Thank you for the opportunity to invite your presence into this meeting, to be with us all, to help guide us, to help guide the decisions that we make, to help keep us focused, Lord. And thank you for your grace and mercy in all aspects and all ways. We recognize you in this moment, and we just say thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Madam Clerk, if you will proceed with the roll call, please.
Mayor Mahoney,
Present.
Councilmember Robinson,
Present.
Vice Mayor Dancy,
East side.
Councilmember Gunn,
Present.
Councilmember Wood,
Present.
Councilmember Hunt,
Present.
Councilmember Forgrave.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Sounds like we are all present and accounted for. At this time, I'll be looking for a motion and support to adopt the agenda.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Agenda's passed. That brings us down to item number 5, presentations and proclamations. For item A, we will not read it aloud, but I do just want to announce that we do have a proclamation that will be mailed out to the recipient to declare November as Family Court Awareness Month in the city of Jackson. And just want to thank Councilmember Gunn for making sure that we got this proclamation done to bring awareness to this month. That will move us to item number 6, a public hearing. Looking for a motion and support to conduct a public hearing in accordance with PA 198 of 1974 to terminate Industrial Development District number 98.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Motion passes, and we are now in public hearing. I don't have any written communications identifying that people want to speak from the public on this public hearing. Council, did you guys have any questions? Seeing or hearing no questions, Madam Clerk, is there any mailed that we need to at least recognize?
No, this was just a request of the only entity that was in Industrial Development District number 8 to have it terminated as the steps prior that need to take place in order for their next request to come through.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. At this time, I would be looking for a motion and support to close the public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed the same. Public hearing is now closed. That brings us down to item number 7, citizen comment. I will start, as always, by reading the rules for speaking before the city council. Number 1, each speaker will state their name and address prior to addressing council. Number 2, each speaker is limited to up to 3 minutes during the citizen comment portion of the meeting. Council members will not debate or answer questions at this time. Number 3, each speaker should be polite and courteous to the council and members of the public in attendance, while any speaker is free to express his or her opinion on any subject. No speaker may direct personal attacks at any member of the staff or council unrelated to the manner in which they perform their duties, use obscene language while addressing the city council, or engage in disruptive or disorderly behavior during a council meeting. Number 4, should any speaker cause a breach of the peace through their conduct, the mayor may declare the speaker out of order. Number 5, if a speaker is declared out of order by the mayor and refuses to cease and desist from disruptive or disorderly conduct, the mayor may order the person removed from the meeting. Number 6, each speaker may speak once under public comment and may not yield their time to others. Mr. John C. King, kick us off.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John King, 203 3rd Street here in the city. I'm happy, that you'll be spending January with us here. So I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So one thing that I was disappointed with is that, there was the Blue Wall tour and you're sitting next to our governor. And, just before that, she had done this bizarre, what was described a lesbian communion scene. When someone, and I know Connor Wood really likes to, do the anti-Semitic and stuff, but it seems like maybe it's okay to do anti-Christian, hateful stuff like that. So it would have been nice if you had said, Governor, I don't want to associate with you right now unless you go public with an apology. That would have been really good. And fortunately, that blue wall did crumble, and our country's a lot better off for it. One thing that the public, should know out there is that right now, Shalana Hunt is illegally sitting in the 5th Ward chair. I've sent a letter to the city attorney. We have, 4 years ago, the citizens of Jackson passed an amendment to the charter in which, for the filling of vacancies, it mentions the city council shall appoint an interim council member or treasurer within 60 days of the vacancy, who shall serve until the election of a new council member or treasurer. So we do have a newly elected council member, but this council refuses to follow the law and the city charter. Matt Haggerty knows this. He pulled the thing when you increased your term limits, to 5 years. He knew that was illegal. But rather than giving his legal opinion, he said, oh, the city clerk did great work. Same thing here. Jonathan Green emails me back, oh, we cleared this up, John. We go by, the very beginning, the normal when people are, at the beginning of new terms. So that's a lot of the nonsense that's going on. Shalana Hunt committed a felony when she filed her latest filing for campaign. I FOIA'd to get information, and that was illegally done. There's so much that stinks with this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. King. William Hastings.
Good evening, Council. The reason I'm speaking tonight is this is, of course, is November 12th. It's also an anniversary. This is a 6-month anniversary of the date on which the due diligence for the sale of the T.A. Wilson building was supposed to have been completed. Or it's 6-month lag. The sale of the T.A. Wilson was supposed to have been completed on May 20th. Obviously, to date, it still hasn't been completed. The last thing I saw in the news media was a mention they are doing some kind of environmental survey or review or inspection of the building. I think that was supposed to be done about 6 weeks ago approximately, which you would have thought would have been included or completed by the time of the due diligence. So I guess the long and the short of it is that Residents in Action continues to take City Council for a ride. $750,000 of taxpayer money was put into the T.A. Wilson, including the purchase price. They got it for 20 cents on the dollar. That's a pretty good deal. And just, I can't help but note when RIA made a comment, some of the people from RIA made comment about this recently, and they said something to the effect, well, you know, we're going to take our time because we don't want to buy ourselves a lemon. And I thought that showed an enormous amount of disrespect to all of you and to the taxpayers as well. So I hope this is completed in an orderly fashion soon. And I'll just wrap up by saying I did went back and read that the agreement, the rent to buy, the $1 a month agreement that was drafted by the city attorney and by the city manager, and I thought it was pretty well written. If there's any flaws in it, I wouldn't want to point it out and give anyone any ideas necessarily. But it's pretty well written on the whole, but I think the fundamental flaw is you were acting in good faith and chose to act in good faith and attempted to act in good faith to people who in turn were not interested in acting in good faith with you. And that has been the story of Residents in Action from day one. Thank you.
Jamie Naturalite.
Jamie Naturalite, 508 West Ganson. I'm here because my community, which is LGBTQ asterisk alphabet, is concerned with the recent election that they may be like hunted down like everybody else that has been threatened. And even though the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act passed in February 2024, extending civil rights for gender identity and expression and stuff like that, and even though the state of Michigan has a bathroom bill that the Republicans passed that allows us to use either bathroom, they only passed that because it saved the Republicans, who own most of the restaurants and facilities, from developing unisex bathrooms. Now, as a trans person, if I go in a male bathroom, I'm a trans woman, I'm subjected to some type of sexual harassment by somebody in there. They feel that's a playing field. Conversely, if I go into the female bathroom, which is what I usually use, I'm conscious, given so many rapes in prison and all that kind of stuff, that my presence by cisgender women may be considered an invasion of their privacy, which then may bring back their trauma that they experienced. So I feel uncomfortable in both. And that's why I like the idea of unisex bathrooms, and our library has one. You know, most of the intelligent places in here, the Center for Family Health, they have them as well. The Social Security building has them. But my point is, and I want to address the unhousing thing too, but my point is that is there any possibility that the city would entertain like a resolution, you know, reaffirming the rights that are already under the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act? Because even when I went down to the sheriff's office, the lady kind of knew that I was trans and acted a little bit weird. So I filed a complaint against her, and then when I went to the parole office, one of the parole officers got cocky with me, and of course, I don't have good manners yet, so I got cocky back, and he's like, as he's shutting the door, he says, "You have a nice day now, sir." And I just lit him up, you know, because I'm like, just like I would the guards in prison. And I'm the one that's responsible for the gender dysphoria improvement in 2017 that made it international.
Thank you, Jamie.
I'm sorry. But anyways, can you do something? Thanks.
Peter Bormo.
Peter Bournemouth, 154 West Pearl. First, I'd like to speak against resolution number I, which is the deer hunt in Ellis Sharp Park. Until the end of the summer, when I no longer walk dogs there, I walked in the park almost every day, and I'm quite aware of the number of deer tracks and deer trails in the park, and there is not an excess of deer in the park right now. Will says they're all over in the 6th Ward, but you can't shoot them in the 6th Ward. And there's no need to shoot them in the park right now. There's not enough of them. You, I think, cleared them out almost completely 5 years ago. I want to just spend a little time on a post-mortem on the election. I think the most important statistic from that election is that in 2020, Donald Trump got 74 million votes nationwide, and Joe Biden got 81 million. In 2024, Donald Trump got 74 million votes nationwide, and Kamala Harris got 71. So there are 10 million voters who came out in 2020 for the Democratic nominee and did not come out this time. I think people need to really reflect on that. People talk about Donald Trump getting more Latino votes, more black male votes, more white women votes, but he also lost a lot of senior votes. So his numbers were exactly the same as they were last time. I would suggest there's a number of reasons for that. You know, first, I would think the youth vote was lost because Kamala Harris didn't address Gaza. And that was a huge issue for the young people. And it was also, of course, a huge issue for the Arab Americans in this state. And she lost Michigan probably because of that. Secondly, I would say the Democrats screwed up by pushing early voting, absentee voting. You know, the Republicans were opposed to it in 2016, 2020. But now they've embraced it. And what it does, it gives the head of these Christian households 2 votes because they look over their wife's shoulder and tell her exactly what to vote. You might consider that next time you're, passing legislation to make it easier to vote. And then, of course, there was inflation, and I think that was the key fundamental economic issue. Joe Biden's legislative accomplishments did not translate to the street, where people were paying higher prices for rent, for milk, for eggs, and the Democrats need to get their act together. Oh, well, I don't have time.
Thank you. Nicholas Thurston.
Good evening. My name is Nicholas Thurston. I live here in Jackson, Michigan, 410 Van Buren Street, Apartment B, here in Ward 5. I wanted to talk about increasing crime in Jackson and things that I've personally been experiencing and seeing and might be happening to other people. I don't know. So it started in February for me, where I would go to restaurants and Daniel Mahoney and Derek Dobies would order a bunch of stuff and then try to charge it to my bill. I don't approach them. I don't talk to them. I go by myself. I don't talk to anybody or draw attention to myself while I'm there. I'm eating my dinner. Next thing I know, the restaurant staff are approaching me, telling me that I'm going to be responsible for all of their meals and that they've informed them that it's okay to charge me. It is not okay to charge me. This happened again in September at Grand River Brewery, another place I like to shop. And I noticed that they weren't trying to bill everybody else in the restaurant, just me. And some of the places I like to shop at, I might be the only person who looks like me there, and it's typically not a problem. But when Dobies is there, or James Johnson Jr. is there, or Daniel Mahoney is there, or other people from the Democratic Party, or the AFL-CIO, or the NAACP are there, I noticed that I find myself being singled out and treated differently when I'm just trying to shop and enjoy my customer experience like everybody else there. Then again, more recently, at Bellinote restaurant, before I can even sit in the chair, Derek Dobies, Daniel Mahoney, former JPS principal William Patterson, and James Johnson Jr., who was on the City of Jackson Human Relations Commission, the director of the United Way, and the Jackson Housing Commission, are telling the staff, before I have even sat in the chair or ordered my own meals, that I'm going to be responsible for their bills again. They rack up bills for hundreds of dollars and then tell the people that work at these restaurants, where I'm also trying to shop, separately, independently, for myself, then I'm going to be responsible for their bills. Okay? This is a fraud. This is stalking. This is harassment. There's multiple occasions this is happening. There is no reason why they should do this. Many of them have good paying jobs. They have pensions. I don't understand why I personally am being singled out. I don't see anybody else in these restaurants being singled out the same way that I am. And based on the race-based programs that Daniel Mahoney and Derek Dobies have been so keen on lately, I have to consider that my race is a factor when I go into places where not many people that are shopping there look like me, and I find myself being treated very, very differently than all the other customers, and I'm sick and tired of it. I am not going to tolerate it, and I'm demanding that the city manager, the city police department, and the city attorney pursue criminal charges against these people for the continued harassment and fraudulent attempts to stick me with their bills that they're ordering at restaurants. Thank you.
Brandon Little. Did I say that right, Brandon? Last name? It's Lytle. That's okay. I'm going to get it right. Brandon Lytle.
3472 Agnes Street, Jackson, Michigan. Good evening. My name is Brandon Lytle, and I'm a Jackson community member. I am voicing my concern with the election of President Donald Trump. I'm very concerned with the rights of those I care about will be taken away during the impending Trump administration. As a straight white male, I hope to be somewhat insulated from the incoming administration. I'm somewhat afforded the opportunity to stand by and say nothing. However, I fear that this will cause untold harm to many citizens of Jackson County. To sit and wait until the problem is on my doorstep is a disservice to everyone involved. I implore you to do the same. Do not wait until the issues that will result from the president-elect's policies and plans to impact you directly. Make plans that insulate Jackson County from the plans that he continues to double and triple down on, such as dissolving the Federal Department of Education. This will disproportionately impact those in low-income areas and those with special needs. Make plans now to protect those who will lose their rights as an American citizen purely based on the color of their skin, sexual orientation, gender, or any other arbitrary assignment by the president-elect and his administration. These examples and many others will soon to be upon Jackson County. I'm begging you to not sit idly by and wait for the wolves to be at your doorstep. What are you, as elected officials of this Jackson County, going to do to protect my loved ones and the people of Jackson County now? That's all I have to say today. Thank you for your time.
Okay, council, if you could just make sure you refresh your screen so we can keep the rest of this moving. At this time, that will conclude our citizen comment portion of the meeting and brings us down to item number 8, the consent calendar. Looking for a motion and support.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes 7-0. Brings us down to item number 9, other business. Looking for a motion and support to authorize the creation of a City of Jackson curb appeal program, approve the program guidelines and the creation of related application/administrative documents, and authorize city manager and city attorney to make minor modifications as needed.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous. Brings us down to number 10, new business. Item A, I'm looking for a motion and support to approve the contract award for 2025 janitorial services for the Public Works Department, 4 locations to Facilities 360 in the amount of $59,530.92, and authorize the finance director and the city manager to execute the appropriate documents in accordance with the purchasing agent.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on this item?
Yes. Is this just for the DPW department?
It's for 4 places. It's for the DPW building, the new one, the old one, the water treatment plant, and the wastewater plant. So it's 4 places altogether.
Just for clarification, is this a brand-new contract award, or is this a rebid of a current contract?
So this is not an extension, not an amendment. This is a brand new, we put it out to bid because we haven't been out to bid in a number of years, and we're disappointed in our current provider. So that's why we did it. And they were out of contract.
Did we get just 2 bids? Sorry. Mr. Mayor.
So we got, I can bring Carrie up, but we can explain the process. But we got more than 2 bids. But these are the 2 we, in our purchasing policy, can negotiate with the 2 lowest bidders. And so that's what Carrie did. She set out to work and got lower prices as much as she could. She gave them like a final chance to those last 2, the best 2, to provide a new price. And what we see there is Facilities 360 with the lowest bid. I think I don't remember if the bid pack, if the agenda item has all the bid documents in it. I don't think it does.
So we hire both? companies?
No, we're just hiring the one.
The one?
Yep.
Okay.
But our purchasing policy gives us the opportunity to negotiate with people when it comes down to 2 for services like this.
Did our current
Yes.
provider rebid?
Yes.
Is that who the second one was, or
Nope. He was,
did not make it to the final?
Didn't make it to the final.
Any other questions, council? Okay, seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous, and that brings us down to item B. Looking for a motion and support to approve a resolution terminating Industrial District Number 98 at the request of Sheriff Goslin, the property owner that initiated the request to establish the district.
So move.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous. That brings us down to item C. Looking for a motion and support to approve the sale of city-owned property located at 116 East Mason Street to K&R Real Investments Incorporated, and authorize city manager to execute property transfer documents.
So move.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous. That brings us down to item D. Looking for a motion and support to approve a resolution for the contract award to Seven Brothers Painting Incorporated in the amount of $776,000 for the 2025 West Clarifier Repaint and Repairs Project.
So move.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimously. That brings us down to item E, looking for a motion and support to adopt a resolution to enter into a memorandum of agreement to obtain a feasibility study for Mid-Michigan Regional Lime Calciner, and the city, and for the city to agree to financially support the cost of the Mid-Michigan Regional Lime Calciner feasibility study in the amount of 14.36% of costs over and above $675,000 at a not-to-exceed amount of $35,900.
So move.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any questions?
Oh,
Mr. City Manager, give us some background.
yeah.
You know, I would love to give you background, but what I'd love more than that is to showcase the strength of the team and have Nick Mangus come up and woo you all with his knowledge of using lime, heating it up again, and then using it again.
I'm gonna make a request to get like an action button set right here so I can have a button that just plays the come on down music.
I like it.
Come on down, Nick.
So the whole idea behind the lime calciner is for us to be able to reuse our lime. So in Dayton, Ohio, and in Miami, Florida, they have recalciners. So they take their sludge and they rebake it, and then they bring it back into their facilities and use it. At the end of the day, you end up with a better product, so they claim. We haven't tested any of their product. We're looking to test some of their product from Dayton, Ohio, because obviously it's closer than Miami, Florida. But the plan at the end of the day is to have basically 11 communities take all their lime sludge there. It would get baked, and then we'd bring it back. There's still cost to it. The thing that we will save money on in the future, hopefully, is if we fall into the line of states where they don't allow biosludge, which is what they consider lime sludge, to be put on farm fields anymore. At that point, if we can't put it on farm fields, it's got to go to environmental landfill, and nobody can really give me a good cost on that. The closest environmental landfill that I know of is in Detroit, so trucking in and of itself might quadruple. I don't know. It'll get really expensive, I got the feeling. So, like I said, those 11 communities we got together, we got a grant from Eagle to cover the $675,000. Hopefully our portion is zero, but up to that $35,900, and hopefully we get a good result. And it's just an RFP, so at the end of the day, they're just going to tell us if it's feasible to do. We already know if any of the group drops out, it's no good. But at that same talent, we're stuck with lime soda ash softening too. That would be where we would be. We wouldn't be moving to a nanofiltration or something like that, because we would have all this money invested if we built this facility.
So currently, Nick, we are paying two ways. We're paying to buy the lime, and then we're paying to have the lime sludge taken away.
Correct.
Through this feasibility study, will this show that even at the current rate, not the what if of if it does not any longer, if it's not any longer allowed to go to like a farming field for fertilizer, is there like a return on investment going to be shown like in comparison to our current spend, or only on the like what if of what it would cost for us to take it to a landfill?
No, it should be currently.
Okay.
We're still going to have some costs in it because of the cost to heat it to get to, I mean, we've got to rebake it. I believe, don't quote me, but I think you got to get to 3,000 degrees to actually remake the lime so that we can use it into a pebble. So you've still got quite a bit of cost in what we're doing. It's that we're not dependent on a company anymore. We have what we have, and we will be able to just continue to reuse that lime. So we're not gonna buy it per se, we're just gonna pay to remanufacture it, pay to clean it. So, I'm sorry.
So reuse it, and how many times can you recycle this? Is it
They claim
infinite?
we can, infinity.
Poop infinity.
They claim you can do it for forever, so. We'll actually make more lime at the end of the day, because we pull, it's weird, right? Because we pull, you have calcium in your water, yet we use calcium, which is lime, to pull all that out. So actually, we will gain product, and we will look for other municipalities to sell that to. So like Adrian jumped in on this deal in the beginning, but then said, no, we're not interested, but we'll buy your product when we're done. So we'll be able to sell extra product to other municipalities, steel mills, just depends on who wants it at the end of the day. We'd be actually, hopefully be able to make money is the goal as a group. At the end of the day, when I say make money, it would really probably just drop our costs, but it's making money, right? It's just,
Any other questions, council? I got more questions, but not necessary for right now. I'm curious with those other don't answer this. I'm just thinking like, okay, if they're gonna buy it, would we then buy that sludge to re-bake and then resell it to them? Don't answer that right now. My mind is just turning, but I don't have any other questions immediately.
okay. Yep, no problem.
Seeing and hearing no other questions, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Passes unanimous. Brings us down to item F. Looking for a motion and support for approval of a resolution to enter into the grant agreement with Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy for the American Rescue Plan State Revolving Fund, and authorize the water treatment plant supervisor and city clerk to execute the appropriate documents.
So move.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous. That brings us down to item G. Looking for a motion and support for approval of the First Amendment to the contract agreement with Johnny's Tree Service Incorporated for as-needed tree trimming, tree removals, and stump grinding and restoration in the increased amount of up to $200,000.
So move.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion?
I don't know if this is the right place to ask, but the tree trimming covers the entire city?
Yes.
Okay. Because I get a lot of concern in Ward 1 about the trees and the lights, and so
That's
I'm
why we
just
need to do
looking-
more. So that's
Okay.
why Mike had the idea, we need to do more. He's heard those same things, and he said, hey, what do you think council would do? And I said, I bet they'd support it based on how often we talk about trees. Kudos to Mike. He's Tim's assistant.
Are you Tim assistant? Okay. Way to go, Junior.
Any further discussion?
Sorry, Mike.
Seeing or hearing no further discussion, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous. That brings us down to item H. Looking for a motion and support to approve the lowest quote for pool resurfacing to Reflections Pool and Spa of Fort Gratiot, Michigan, for $125,000.
So move.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous. Brings us down to item I. Looking for a motion and support to approve a resolution suspending enforcement of firearms discharge in Ellis Sharp Park and contracting with Aaron's nuisance of Rise Junction for $40,000.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing no questions or discussion, clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous. That brings us down to item J. Looking for a motion and support to accept a resolution for $300,000 from the Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund grant to finish the MLK Equality Trail from Optimus Shelter to Weatherwax Road.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous. Brings us down to item K. Looking for a motion and support to approve the resolution for change to the standard lighting contract with Consumers Energy for the addition of a street light at 1607 Kent Street and authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the appropriate documents.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous. Brings us down to item L, looking for a motion and support to adopt a resolution to enter into an agreement with the United States Environmental Protection Agency for transmission water main construction on Hupp Avenue and Morrell Street and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the appropriate documents.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous. That brings us down to item M. Looking for a motion and support to approve Amendment 1 to the RAISE Program Agreement with the United States Department of Transportation and the Michigan Department of Transportation for the MLK Corridor Reimagined Street Reconstruction Project and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the appropriate documents.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Can we get a little more background on it?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. There's a three-party agreement between us, MDOT, and the feds, and we signed our part of the agreement when the feds asked us to. The state drug their feet, and they drug their feet so long the feds changed their boilerplate language in the grant. So now we have to go back and redo our resolution because the state took their time on their part of it. So it's just wording of the contracts and the grant agreements. Nope. I know, that's concern when things like these happen, but it's just one of those things where they didn't sign the agreement in time.
Okay, seeing or hearing no other comments, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous. That brings us down to item N. Looking for a motion and support to approve the first reading and advance to the second reading. An amendment to section 15-39, appointment of youth council members of the City of Jackson Code of Ordinances to include eligibility of middle school and high school students.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
So just a quick question. So the language is eligibility of middle school students and high school students, but there's like no age threshold? Or is eligibility based on the current application?
So Matt and I talked about it. We didn't really know how to approach this based on the mayor's motion. I thought if we did it to middle school and high school, we'd take the age right out of it if they're in the grades that they need to be and they can participate.
Okay. I'm just thinking of some middle schoolers being really young. But
It's a good way to learn. you know?
Yeah,
It's a good
okay.
way to learn.
Okay, thank you.
If the young man Avion was here, he would have a whole speech for why we should not put an age limit on it.
I
And
remember
based on
I remember his presentation.
Based on
He
his
was-
eloquent presentation, I think middle school to high school is a
It's-
good range for us to put it in.
Okay.
And I think that the Human Relation Commission, who would do interviews with those applicants, would be able to help with making sure that they have good qualities to bring to the table. But I do agree that it is like youth council is designed for us to be able to train up the next generation of leaders for our community. And I think the earlier we can get them started, the better. So I'm okay with the language as written and appreciate that change being brought forth. Any other comments? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes unanimous, and that brings us down to city council member comments. Vice Mayor, kick us off, please. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. So, just this morning we had a groundbreaking on the east side, and it's just amazing the turnout we had. I just again, Shane and his staff, everything they've been doing to bring housing to Jackson. Well, basically bring developers who come look and see what a good place this is, a great place, and want to do business here, and how they have made it easier to do business in Jackson. So we hear a lot of good things about that. So it was just a great event, but that's one event. I know there's many more to come throughout the whole city. So it's just a lot going on, a lot happening. I tell everybody the next 2 or 3 years, everything's going to be changed. The way Jackson looks is just amazing. Just thank everyone for coming out. Thank everyone for coming out. Thank everyone for coming out. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Hunt.
Oh, you caught me off guard.
I'm sorry.
Another good meeting, and again, I appreciate everyone being present here tonight, and nothing further beyond the fact that I'm excited about the youth council and us expanding our reach to younger voices, and hopefully when we begin to talk early and talk often, we'll have some stronger leaders.
Councilmember Gunn.
Oh. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I agree. I think the groundbreaking ceremony this morning, my apologies, I wasn't able to make it. I had a prior work-related commitment in Ann Arbor this morning. So, but wonderful job. It's exciting to see all the development that's happening in Jackson. And I think that's off the heels of all the 100 homes and all the good publicity that we're getting around the state for that program. So, yes. And I just want to say congratulations to everybody during this election season. So, Mayor Mahoney, my apologies, but we're glad you're here. Thank you.
Councilmember Robinson. Keep you on your toes tonight.
Yeah, yes, you are. I want to let the clerk know how much we appreciated her. Under her circumstances, we've had a good election. So to her and her staff, the city staff, for being so supportive. I've had to be away for a while, so in and out of town, but the email system, everybody's being very helpful. Thank the citizens for being here tonight. Looking forward to more youth. I do work with a HRC group who I guess plays a part in that of the youth, but I do think middle school is a good age to get them started and keep them occupied during high school years. Other than that, I do want to extend congrats to those. And Mayor, I've still yet to call you, as I said I was going to, because of my motherly figure. I want to make sure you're okay. But I am too happy that you're still here serving us as the mayor of the city of Jackson. But I know you'll keep moving along because you have it in you, okay? All right. Other than that, thank you all.
Councilmember Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As always, thank you to the city staff for reaching out and shooting us all emails to clarify what was on the agenda. I think that helped cut down the time, and appreciate the homework that went into it. I think some good long-term planning that I think we need as a community. Also want to thank Clerk Murray for running a smooth and efficient election with 3 different methods of voting, which I'm sure was a huge challenge, and a challenge that I think Jackson met. Certain of our neighbors a little further west on 94 in Battle Creek did not meet that challenge, so it's always nice to show those folks up. Thank you to everybody in Jackson who came out to vote. Congratulations to Christy Davis on your election, and again to everybody who was on the ballot. I especially want to thank and congratulate our mayor for running a clean campaign, an honest campaign, campaign that did not send a text message out to your constituents telling them on election day to go vote tomorrow, which of course would have been disgusting and appalling and unforgivable and without excuse. So thank you for not doing that. Taking off like whatever short-term political thoughts any of us have about the election, which I'm sure all of us are perfectly objective and aren't letting any of our opinions get into it. But I think that I'm reading a big fat history book right now, and so I've got a lot of like long-term stuff in my head. And I think that what worries me is that communities like Jackson, legacy cities, post-industrial cities like us, where we have chronically high unemployment, chronically low wages, chronic, budgetary considerations, chronic, more infrastructure than we have money to pay for it. My concern for the future of our community is that the lesson that's going to be taken by both parties from this election, a lesson, is going to be that any amount of inflation is going to be punished brutally by the voters. And I think we've seen that not just in the United States, but globally that's been the case. And when America gets a cold, Jackson gets pneumonia, right? We know that from the Great Recession. We've seen that since. And so communities like ours, the downstream effect over the next 50, 75, 100 years of this election is going to be that the next time something bad happens, there's not going to be ARPA money, there's not going to be a bipartisan infrastructure law, there's not going to be that kind of support from the federal government regardless of who the president is. And that is, I think, we can feel however we want to feel about the particulars of this election, but I think that we should all be clear-eyed about the fact that, there's not going to be any more help. So we're going to have to figure it out ourselves. And I think we can, but we're going to be playing on hard mode from here on out, and that's too bad because I think Jackson's a great community and we need all the help we can get. But I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that the consequence is not just Michigan's color on a map changing. It's we're going to have to figure out how to have some pretty hard conversations about how to sustain the growth that we've been seeing. I think the really exciting direction the city has taken. It's just going to get a little bumpier from here on out. So I think that's something we got to keep in mind. To wrap it up, though, and keep it more positive, this was a really quick, short meeting. Pretty sure that's because I had dinner before. So you're welcome. And that concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Forgray.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep it hyper-local and just talking about the agenda that we executed tonight. To Council Member Wood's point, the one silver lining I took away from this election was that Napoleon Township passed a road millage. I don't know if anybody saw that, and if Napoleon Township can, I'm confident we can too. But to his point, we are going to have to start doing this locally and lifting ourselves up. I think that's an apt takeaway from where we find ourselves now. But with that being said, I'd like to echo everybody's comments about city staff doing such a great job and all the work they do behind the scenes to bring all these agenda items to us. If I'm ever in, if you put me on the spot on a day I'm in a bad mood or prickly, which is not often, as you guys know, up here. You asked me how the city manager was doing, I'd say he says yes to everything and follows through on 70% of it. But after tonight, after we approved the curb appeal program, after we began looking into how we handle biosolids and the lime that they make, after we voted to pump more money into tree trimming in the community, after we approved a deer cull for the first time in 5 years, and after we decided to upgrade and refresh Nixon Pool, I'm happy to report that our city manager is batting 1,000. So I'll just have to give you more time. Yeah. So thank you for that. Really, it's I'll just be more patient moving forward, and thanks to city staff.
So I didn't have comments at first until I started thinking about if I actually had comments or not. I want to start by giving due recognition and appreciation to the City of Jackson Police Department. As I'm sure everybody who lives on the land of social media probably saw the video or heard something about the situation that happened earlier this week. We had an officer who was unfortunately shot, but is okay. I just want to give recognition to all the officers involved in that situation. It's unfortunate when a situation that starts outside of the city of Jackson lands in the city of Jackson, but I'm glad that we have trusted law enforcement who can take care of the situation at hand. And if there's anything that we can do for that officer in his time of healing, please let me know what we can do, if anything. It's just been a lot going on for you guys in the last week. I know it has. So, but just know we got your back. I don't care how much they blame me for all of the crime that criminals seem to be doing in the community. Just know that I will continue to make sure that we stand up in the right way for you guys by way of this desk, as well as I can speak on behalf of City Council that we will continue to make sure that we provide the resources that you guys need to do the job that you're doing out there. And we appreciate you. Miss Arlene, I just want to say I appreciate you. I know your family has been going through a lot, and I just want to say congratulations. I won't put all your business out there, but congratulations in order, and praying for a continued speedy recovery to your loved one in this time also. I'm sure I probably could make this request outside of the meeting, but when the MLK issue came up, it just reminded me that I did need to put out a request for the staff who are working on the Reimagining MLK project. If we could just make a small request for someone to get with John to schedule to be in attendance of a MLK Corridor Improvement Authority executive meeting, so that way we could have some insight on what's happening with the project and the design of the project, because there's some concerns that everyone on the committee has, and we'll probably end up asking you to end up eventually coming to an actual meeting, but I think it'll be good to start with an executive committee meeting attendance so that we can ask some preliminary questions about the project. And he left before I got the chance to get to him. but I'll say it anyway in hopes that maybe he'll rewatch this. Nikki Thurston, let's just set the record straight. I have never, I will repeat, I have never tried to put my bill on anyone other than myself. If someone else in my company, who you may or may not have mentioned, jokingly tried to put a bill on you, my big question is, have you ever had to pay a bill in result to that? Or was it actually just a joke? I'm not sure. But again, I think it's unfortunate when people come in and they make like baseless claims and involve me, because the last incident that this happened at, I literally said, I have not even said a word to you. I don't understand why I'm being brought into this, because I have nothing to do with it. I'm sorry, you had your chance to talk. So again, I had nothing to do with whatever situation you're talking about, but I appreciate your presence in the meeting. I want to say thank you to the staff. Again, our vice mayor got the chance to mention it already, that we did a pretty groundbreaking today. I had to do it. And I think it's just amazing to see the way that our staff boldly comes to the table with new ideas and then goes out and finds the correct partners for us to be able to make these projects happen that have continued to happen in this community, and to be able to do exactly what we've been saying this entire time, which is like me saying, the city of Jackson has the ability to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. We're not stuck on just one project. We can do multiple things at the same time, and we have been. So to see us beginning to do new development on the east side and like announcing those projects happening, 8 new builds happening on the east side, to really commemorate that we are dedicated to revitalizing all parts of our community, not just one part of our community, is a beautiful thing. I want to echo what Councilmember Wood said and thank the clerk and the entire election staff for yet another phenomenal election. Even in the case where the outcome is not exactly what I imagined it to be, it does not matter. I know that you guys do a phenomenal job, and I appreciate you for that, especially like knowing. I just want you to know I appreciate you for that. And my heart is with you and your family as well. So the last thing is just kind of a personal note. And in case anybody's wondering if the car in the parking lot in the back is my car, it is not. But for once, there's a car parked in the mayor's spot that I don't mind. I'm going to tell you right now, over the last almost 3 years of me sitting in this seat, I have seen more people willing to be disrespectful and park in the mayor's parking lot than I have ever seen people be willing to park in like an employee of the month parking spot at a grocery store. I wouldn't dare do that because I didn't earn it, right? And there's not a whole lot that you get to be the mayor of the city of Jackson. So I take pride in being able to pull up and park in that spot, and I will block you in if you're in my spot. Warning. I will go on about my business like you're not even there. However, election night, of course, I was like downtown from like 6 o'clock until, and end of the night came, and this is just like to bring everything full circle, that sometimes there's just more important things happening in the world than just an election. Not that the election is not important, but I think there's more important things. End of the night, while I was waiting for results to come out, after the watch party ended, it's probably going on 1 o'clock, I walked over to City Hall and said, I'm just going to sit out here until they get done. Like, eventually they're going to post the rest of these numbers, and I'll walk in and get them. My campaign manager went home. The person who we had poll watching for us had went home, and I was standing outside, and the entire day it dawned on me that there was a car sitting parked between City Hall, this building, and the building next door to City Hall that has the apartments upstairs and the empty commercial space downstairs. And it dawned on me this car had been sitting there the entire day. When I first saw the car, I said, well, maybe this is an election worker, and they like told him just out of safety to like pull up as close as you can to drop off whatever you needed. As it got later, I noticed the same person was sitting in the vehicle, and then I said, well, maybe they're waiting on somebody to come out, but that's weird to wait the entire day. And so I asked about it. Does anybody know whose car this is? And they're like, no, we've been joking about whose car it might be all day, but it's not theirs, and we don't know whose it is. So this is now like going on after 1 o'clock, and I was torn because while I wanted to continue to wait or go up to like the second floor and find out like what was happening, like why was it taking so long, because that's the normal thing I do, is try to figure out why it's taking so long to get the results. And I said, man, I really kind of need to figure out what's going on. This lady was just sitting in the car. And so the election worker talked to some of the other election workers, and I heard him say, well, we're going to call the police. And I said, well, I'm going to just go check on the person. And so I went and I tapped on the window, and the lady was sitting there. And I said, ma'am, are you waiting on somebody? And she said, no. And I said, well, do you know that this is not a parking spot? And she said, no. And she looked very confused. She wasn't forming the best of sentences that made a whole lot of sense. She didn't have a loved one or a family member who she could tell me that I could call to help her. And so I told her, I think there's somebody on the way to help you. I didn't want her to be alarmed like when the police pulled up. So the officer arrived, and I told him, you know, I've had family members who have like been on the verge of going in a diabetic coma, be in this same sort of state of mind where they're like, they don't really exactly know what's going on. And I said, I think she is having a medical emergency. I think she needs help. He talked to her, and now it's going on a little after 2 o'clock by the time he was talking to her, and determined, yep, I think I'm going to call the ambulance to come and help her. Ambulance and fire truck pulled up. They rushed over. They had a pretty lengthy conversation with her and couldn't really figure out any information. They couldn't find any background information on her as to like where she may have been coming from. And they said, I think we better take her to the hospital. She agreed to go. I could tell she was a little bit concerned about her vehicle, and it looked like, from my perspective, she may have been like either living out of her vehicle or pretty close to living out of her vehicle. And I asked her, I said, well, if you're concerned about your car, is it okay if I move it for you? And I asked the police officer, because they were like, we're going to take you, but they're probably going to tow your vehicle. And I said, if this is all she has, I don't want her vehicle to be towed. I would rather just move it. And I said, don't worry, I'll move it somewhere safe, and then I'll bring the keys back to her before you guys leave. And so she decided to go with them. And I'm telling you this because at the end of the night, what I realized at 4 o'clock in the morning while I was on my way home is that, like, I do this job because I care about people, right? I don't do this job, of course, for the money. Y'all know that. They don't pay the mayor a whole lot of money. Definitely don't do it for the money. I don't do it for the accolades. I don't do it for power. I do it because I care about people. But in that moment, what I realized is that we had a citizen sit for 11 hours illegally parked between two buildings. And because of all of the fuss about the election, for 11 hours, we had a citizen sit in need of help, and no one bothered to even bat an eye, right? But it was a calling to me personally because, like, the message for me was, like, you say you care about people. I had to stop what I was doing because I was concerned about not being able to get in to get the results I was looking for in time, because I needed to stop and help this lady. And the message to me was like, if you're doing this because you care about people, you have to care about every single person, even the person sitting between the building who's been sitting there for 11 hours with no help. So while I am concerned about the election outcome and the ramifications of new leadership up and down the ticket, the one thing that I do know is that God is still king, God is still good, and God is going to take care of anything that I may be concerned about. And the J stands for I'm still just going to continue to do my part. And I woke up with a smile on my face the next morning. So anybody who's concerned about how I'm doing, I am absolutely fine after this election. I truly am absolutely fine, and I mean that to my core. If I was not okay, I would also be willing to tell you that I'm not okay. But that situation truly put a lot of things in perspective for me personally, and I hope me sharing it also puts things in perspective a little bit better for you as well. Mr. City Manager.
I just have 4 brief things, the first of which will be handled by our attorney, Matt Haggerty.
Thank you, Manager Green. I just wanted to briefly address some of the comments made concerning the Fifth Ward, the election process, and the current seat filled by Councilwoman Hunt as the appointed council member. Consistent with the city charter, there was a reference to Section 710. Ms. Hunt continues to hold that office until the election of a new council person. Similar to the election of a new state legislator, a new president, that person holds the office until there's an election of a new one. What that section doesn't specifically address, in Section 7.1 of the Charter does address, is when that term begins and ends. And under Section 7.1 of the Charter, I've had this discussion with Councilwoman-elect Davis, who's present in the audience tonight. Her term begins on December 1st at 10 a.m. That is the expiration of the current sitting City Councilwoman Hunt's term. Consistent with the charter, there's nothing nefarious or untoward about it. That's standard practice for all elected officials. And to hold otherwise, number one, the Board of Canvassers hasn't even certified the election yet. That's one point. And secondly, if we were to buy into some kind of argument that Councilman Hunt has to vacate her position, then there is no Fifth Ward representative or any person attending these meetings and representing her constituents for an entire month, which makes no practical sense. The charter has to be read as a whole. Obviously, under Section 7.1, there's a term of office that exists, and that's all I have to say.
All right, so that settles that. Next thing I want to say is thank you to Madam Clerk for a just impeccably run election. I know I ran into you that night in a moment of stress for both of us, but you know, you do a very good job on our election nights, and you should be proud, because I am proud. And also want to wish speedy recovery to our police officer who was shot this week. Won't mention any names, but he knows who he is. I've spoken to him, and to put himself between that individual and the rest of the city was nothing short of heroic. He will say it's his job. He will say it's what he signed up for. And that's easy to say in environments like this. Completely different to do that in the moment. And he is truly a hero in my mind. And then the last thing I want to hit on is a little bit of what I talked about this morning at the groundbreaking. I appreciate your words, Will. I really do. I'm here to serve everyone on council and serve the city as best as I can. I can't do it alone. And for all the things you listed off, I'm very proud that we're doing all of those things. But what I like more about my job is investing and developing our people. And I think what you're seeing now is that flywheel really spin fast with the investment that we've made in our people and developing leaders at every level of the city. Because if it's up to one person, yeah, you're going to get things that are being trickles. But if we can have all of us at the city aligned and pointed in the same direction, and motivated and disciplined to do the right thing all the time for the right reasons, this is what you get. Action-packed agendas, no frills, no fuss, the business. And I appreciate that, and I appreciate my team so much, because without them, none of this happens. So thanks, guys.
Looking for a motion to adjourn. Second.